What a day, what a day, what a day it was in the public count, up $44,000 here today. We have a lot to discuss in this video here today, folks. Tesla stock had a tremendous day, up over 10%. Congrats to all fellow Tesla shareholders out there, all fellow Tesla bulls. What a day indeed. But we got much bigger subjects to cover here today, okay? Somebody ran me through a very big scenario, something that's brewing behind the scenes at Tesla right now, okay? It's a rumor. They ran me through it all and put the pieces together, and I said, you know what? This is pretty shocking, and this sounds like this is going to actually potentially happen here, right? And this is an ultimate rabbit out of a hat move in regards to Elon Musk. This is one of those things that when I heard it, I'm like, if this happens, only Elon could pull something like this off. It is absolutely unbelievable. I'm going to run you through the whole scenario. And after you understand this, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like this actually sounds like it's a realistic possibility here. And it's pretty darn shocking. I mean, really, really shocking, okay? After we get through that, this chart was kind of going viral out there. Americans saved and spent their Rona windfalls, right? Good news and bad news in regards to that, and I'll explain kind of both sides of that, okay? Also, this has kind of been going viral recently, missing payments out of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, right? And in terms of delinquent, 90 days plus delinquent credit cards, it is skyrocketed up to levels we haven't really seen since shortly after the great financial crisis. So this is one of those things you look at and you're wondering, is this mean we're in a recession right now? Is it here or is it still coming? So I think that's an important subject we're going to cover in this video. And then Amazon and Meta, both are very big positions for me in the public account. Obviously, Meta's done far better for me overall than Amazon, although Amazon's no slouch, right? But we're going to speak about the back half of this year specifically, and if I'm expecting Amazon to take the reins here and outperform Meta stock in the back half of the year. So we'll go into detail in regards to that in this video here today, folks. Appreciate y'all joining me as always. All I ask in return is that you smash that like button. You make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's very, very important. That's all you need to do. Smash a like. Make sure you're subscribed, okay? 2 days away from the 1000X stock sale. It's massive sale. It's one day only, July 4th. If you want to enter in for that deal, it's going to be the pinned comment down there. Enter in your name, email. We'll send over the deal as soon as it drops. And when you become a member, you're going to get your Steel founding membership card in the mail, as well as obviously access to the site. And lastly here, congrats to the folks that are hitting 6 figures, 7 figures in your portfolio. These are members of my private group. I signed up 5 awards. My wife had me sign 5 6-figure awards today and 2 7-figure awards. So congrats to all those folks. And the awards are a little dusty. I order those in bulk. Then they chill in my garage for a bit, okay? And so they're a little dusty. I try to dust them off a little bit for you guys. But yeah, congrats to all you guys hitting new records. Whether you're in my private group or not in my private group, congrats to everybody that's hitting new records in your portfolios, okay? Alrighty, here we go. So this is huge, okay? You know who this gentleman is right here? That gentleman right there, Travis Kalanick, okay? He's an Uber founder, led the company for many, many years, and completely disrupted transportation, an industry that hadn't been disrupted in many, many decades. If you go back to prior to Uber, transportation was really the same for decade after decade for the longest time, right? It was taxis, it was buses, it was subways. There really hadn't been any real true innovation in regards to transportation in general until, right, the smartphone came along, which allowed companies like Uber to come along, right? And then Lyft as well, right? And then other markets, other services came along. And Uber completely disrupted the transportation industry forever. Now, he came along in a very perfect time in terms of the VC space. The VC space was booming at that time, and that allowed Uber to lose billions and billions and billions of dollars for the longest time, right? And nowadays, you take an Uber ride, it's very, very expensive compared to when you took Uber rides or Lyft rides, let's call it, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even for that matter, right? It's gotten a whole lot more expensive. And that's because Uber nowadays is very focused on profitability. They're at a very, very different place now at this stage in the game, right? Still usually cheaper than a taxi, but this man disrupted transportation forever, right? He's got a $3 billion plus net worth on him, and he's only 47 years old, right? Now, in regards to this gentleman, it's very important you understand the way things ended with him at Uber were ugly. Probably even more ugly than when Steve Jobs got kicked out of Apple the first time, okay? So he resigned from Uber in 2017, which resigned is kind of a loose term. A lot of people felt like he was forced out. And the way Travis kind of makes it sounds like he was honestly forced out of Uber, okay? In my opinion is he was forced out of Uber. That's my personal opinion, okay? After growing pressure resulting from public reports of company's unethical corporate culture, including allegations that were ignored of reports of SH at the company, Kalanick retained his seat on the board of directors until he resigned on that seat at the end of 2019. Okay, so the moral of the story here is that you got to understand is there was bad blood really between Travis and Uber, in my opinion, at the end. And I've listened to a lot of interviews of Dara over the years, and Dara definitely sounds like he tries to skate around the subject as well as he can possibly do, but I honestly got to say, Dara doesn't really have many good things to say about Travis. I've heard him be asked about Travis many times in the past, and Dara is the current CEO of the company. And I'm just telling you, like, my opinion is, if people in public don't have that good of things to say, behind closed doors, they have a lot of really bad things to say. And so I think there's a lot of bad blood between these two. And also, I'll take this one step at a time, okay? But if you're wondering what Travis is up to now, he's leading this company called Cloud Kitchens, okay? Now, his Cloud Kitchens, basically ghost kitchens. Have you ever heard of the concept ghost kitchens? Basically, it's a concept of, you could be in like a warehouse type space or another type of space and basically be operating a kitchen. And this kitchen you could sell on apps like Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, all those sorts of ones, right? Postmates and all those guys, right? And so you could sell on to those. Maybe you're not really running a restaurant. You're just operating one of these cloud kitchens, okay, or ghost kitchens, and basically selling through all these different apps and things like that, right? And selling into delivery services. And so you show up there, and then people might look and they're like, man, I never heard of this restaurant before, but it's somewhere you can order from, right? And so it's been kind of a space that's been building up. It's a little bit, I'll be honest, of a little bit of a boring business model. They kind of make these ghost kitchens and then they got to rent them out. And in regards to this, it's going through a little bit of tough times here recently. Travis Kalanick's startup Cloud Kitchens fires staff and shuts sites. Former Uber chief's struggling food industry venture moves to stabilize finances, right? And this is the part that Travis really doesn't like. He likes a part of growth, build. I don't think he likes this part of like, oh, we got to focus on profitability, we got to focus on money. And let's just be honest, money's gotten a lot harder to come by. The VC space that was 3 years ago, if you go all the way back to after the GFC, all the way through to 2021, the VC space was booming and people couldn't wait to throw billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars at concepts like this. Now people are really watching their budgets in the VC space, right? And the people that invest into the VC space, some of them are looking and they're saying, man, I don't know if I want to do that because companies aren't really going public with these big valuations nowadays, right? So that makes people a lot more timid, right? And so at the end of the day, in the VC space, if people do want to put money into anything, it's really AI related. That's really the only space that's really, I would say, kind of booming somewhat in the VC space. Cloud kitchens, a lot of people are going to look at that and like, why would I invest in cloud kitchens? Like, big deal. Like, we're going to get rent from these folks. It's very costly to build out these facilities. I don't know if we want to, do that, right? Now, remember what I spoke to you about bad blood in regards to Travis and Uber, right? Well, here's the deal. From my understanding, Travis has no shares of Uber stock. None. From my understanding, okay? And certainly no huge position because otherwise he would have to be disclosed as a major individual holder. So from my understanding, Travis doesn't own any Uber stock as well. Listen, if things had ended well between Travis and Uber, he would own Uber stock. The fact that he sold out all that stock after he, left the company and left the board of directors it clearly shows you that there was bad blood there and he wants nothing to do with Uber, right? Which then gets us to this next very important portion, okay? August 8th. So, the Robotaxi day. This is a huge day for Tesla. This is honestly a huge day for probably transportation, just to be quite frank. The day Tesla's going to show off Robotaxi and talk about their plans for the Robotaxi network, right? Vehicles that you can get into and they will drive you around to wherever you need to go without a human in that front seat, right? Now, very important to understand that the build out of the Robotaxi should start in 2025. Now, does that mean all cities all over the world you're going to have robotaxis in 2025? Absolutely not. When we're talking about build out starts in 2025, we're talking about Tesla making the relationships with very forward-looking towns, cities, states, right? Making those relationships and getting these robotaxis into the market at some point, probably in late 2025 and going into 2026. That's what I talk about when I'm talking about the early build out of this business starts then, right? And then 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029 is like the build up, the scale out of the robotaxi network as the years take on and they get into more and more cities, more and more states, more and more countries, right? It's going to be a whole process that takes many years. And by 2030, I would say in every single major city, honestly, probably in the world, but certainly in the United States of America, you're going to see Tesla robotaxis in them. And that's going to be across the board by 2030. So it's going to be a build out year after year after year, kind of like Uber. It wasn't like Uber was available everywhere right from the go. Uber was built out as the years ticked on and it became bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time Travis left the company, Uber was already uber famous. Like everybody knew Uber service by the time Travis left the company, right? It became super famous. So this is a whole process and this is a massive undergoing, right? And honestly, does Elon personally have the time to personally build out this business? No, he doesn't, because he's a CEO of overall Tesla, plus he has SpaceX, he has a Boring company, he has a bunch of other companies, right? So can he personally be in the meetings and making relationships with different individuals that are politicians in these cities and the ones that are going to allow the product? No, he doesn't really have the time for that at this point in time. Oh, and he has that other pet project called X, right? Now, what's also interesting here is Elon just started following Uber founder Travis on X. So here's what is potentially going on behind the scenes, okay? Keyword is potentially with a capital P, okay? So Elon Musk talks to Travis and he says, you know what, we're going to, I want you to be in charge of building out the Uber of 2030 plus, right? You were the man who led that massive change in transportation. I need you to lead the next change in transportation, right? And you can run the show. You can be the leader of this business. I don't have time to personally lead this business. And this is one of the biggest opportunities in transportation since Uber. But honestly, this is an even bigger financial opportunity, right? Because you don't have to deal with driver wages in regards to this, right? But this is a complicated process to build out. It's going to take years and years, and you're going to have to invest 5 to 10 years of your life into this project. But coming out of this project, you will be seen as a hero visionary that not only did you build out Uber, but you also personally built out Tesla's Robotaxi fleet as well. And you're likely going to exit this, if we're successful and we build this out, with probably a net worth in the tens of billions of dollars because of how much Tesla stock would go up over the next decade. If you're in a situation where you're going to get a ton of options as a leader of this business, call it kind of the number 2 at the company, to be honest, and this builds out and scales up, how big this would be, Travis's net worth could go from $3 billion something dollars to maybe $30 billion over this next 10 years, right? Which is a huge opportunity. Now, Travis could look at something like this and say, you know what? This sounds like a lot of fun. This sounds a lot better than leading this boring, sleepy ghost kitchen business that I'm leading right now. There's no romance in leading this ghost kitchen business. This isn't probably going the places I want it to go. It's probably not going to help out my net worth go where I want it to go. It's probably not going to help out my legacy go where I want it to go. This is not what I really wanted it to be. This is boring. And this other opportunity is the chance to change transportation forever, right? And I can be the leader of that. And so I will be seen as a visionary leader in regards to Uber and in regards to the Robotaxi fleet. You know what? I think I might want to take advantage of an opportunity like this. Now, everything I just ran you through there, right? Oh, in mind you, right? Remember I talked about bad blood with Uber. How much do you think Travis would love it if he could be the one to bury Uber over the next 10, 15 years? Bury the company he started, that he's got tremendous amounts of bad blood. Wouldn't that be something special? Talk about legendary. You change transportation forever with Uber, then you bury it. And then you're responsible for the company that is the company of the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of robotaxis, right? Wow, wouldn't that be special? And then you could say, regardless, you could see Uber being eliminated anyways, potentially, keywords potentially. Now, Uber can partner with maybe Tesla or other companies in the future, so they might not get eliminated. That's important to understand, right? But if you have a view that potentially Tesla could bury Uber and Lyft and those sorts of companies, would you want to be the one putting them in the dirt, or would you not? Especially if you got bad blood there, right? Ooh. Now, my opinion is Robotaxi will be successful with or without Travis. That's my personal opinion. However, if Travis was to lead this unit and he was to be the CEO of the Robotaxi side of the business, I think things would scale out much faster, much better, and there would be a lot more success a lot faster if Travis was leading this. This man understands how complicated things. He understands how to work with these cities, work with these municipalities, work with these different states, right? And get these products into market and build it out over time. I mean, the fact that Uber exists in New York City is crazy in itself, right? Like, that's just wild. And the fact that Uber was able to scale as rapidly as they did, right? This man understands how to get it done. This man understands, what's that famous saying I'm thinking about, right? Don't ask permission, just ask forgiveness. Travis is one of those type of guys. And guess what? Elon Musk is one of those type of guys as well. They appreciate that, right? So my opinion is, I think this rumor might actually hold some weight. And although it might sound like a long shot at first, when you kind of run through it all, you're like, damn, like, I could see Travis leading that unit. Like if Elon Musk gave him that opportunity, let's say Elon Musk comes to you and you're Travis and he gives you this opportunity. He says, I want you to lead this business, change transportation forever, right? Would you rather do that, or would you rather lead your ghost kitchen business that's already having a ton of trouble and is not going to be seen as visionary anyways, right? Ghost kitchens are a dime a dozen. Like, I could start a ghost kitchen right now. Like, it's nothing special. You know what I can't do? I can't start a freaking Robotaxi company to compete with Tesla. I can't do that, but I could personally start a ghost kitchen. If you got some money behind you, you could go start a ghost kitchen right now. That's not complicated. That's not special. Robotaxi changing transportation for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years? That's special. Would you really turn that down if you were Travis? That's a lot of money to turn down. That's a lot of prestige to turn down, right? Never mind that. You probably position yourself as the number 2 at Tesla, which if Elon, we know there's always rumors about Elon eventually leaving Tesla. Let's say Elon wants to leave Tesla 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Would you want to set yourself up to take on that leadership role? Travis is only 47. That's young in business terms. Most of these business tycoons and these entrepreneur folks, they work on business till the day they die, right? A guy like Travis, he's probably still going to be running and gunning at 70, 80, 90 years old, right? So at 47, he's a baby still. Like, could you imagine him eventually, like, running this business, building up successfully? Then 10 years from now, Elon decides to peace out, and then Travis takes over the helm at 57? Is that hard to imagine? No, it's not hard to imagine, right? So, pretty legendary stuff if this was to happen. And the other thing I'll say is, this is the type of thing that only Elon could pull off. If this actually happens, like, it's shocking, right? Who else could pull something like this off and make this even a possibility of a reality, right? Where they have somebody that's already been a previous founder, multi-billionaire, and they bring them in not to be the CEO of the company, but to be the CEO of a specific unit. If Elon was to pull this off, I'm telling you, that's a one-on-one. There's no one else can pull that freaking stuff off, man. Because usually when somebody's a founder of a company and they get their net worth up to $1 billion or a few $1 billion, they're never working for somebody again, right? But if there's one man that could pull off something like this, it's the guy who's done the impossible a million times, and we know Elon Musk has. How many times has it been counted out? How many times have people said, he can't do this? No way. He can't pull this off. And he freaking does it. How many times, right? So, we'll see. We'll see. But August 8th could be a very big day. Imagine Tesla on that day shows off the product, talks about the vision, and then Elon brings out Travis and says Travis is going to lead that unit. Could you imagine that? I mean, insane. Insane. That's all people would talk about for a long time. And you know the sort of premium Tesla stock would get on at that point? You think Tesla trades at high forward Ps right now? You ain't seen nothing if they get Travis to run the Robotaxi network. If they get Travis, because then you're talking about, you got the guy that already changed transportation huge, leading the unit to change transportation again, and now you got a really like famous, very successful, clearly as day, right? Guy that's working as a number 2 or number 3 at the company. I would view him as a number 2, right? Plus Elon. Oh my gosh! Like, are you kidding me? Do you know what sort of premium you got to put on the company at that point in time? Because who else would have 2 people that successful working at it? No one. I keep track of every company that's a big company out there. There's no one that would have those 2 successful people. You got arguably the most successful person in the history of business, Elon Musk. Simultaneously, you got Travis working as the understudy. Oh, come on, man. Come on. That's a whole other level. No one's got that. No one's got that as their number 1, number 2 at a company, right? Crazy. So, we'll see. Don't get too excited. But there might actually be some truth in regards to this rumor, man. And if this happens, you want to talk about taking off like a spaceship? You haven't seen anything yet. Oh, baby. We'll see. Okay. Alrighty, next up here. So, this chart's kind of going viral out there. Americans saved and spent their Rona windfalls, right? So obviously this could be seen as bad news. That's obvious, right? Oh, it fell off a cliff, like bad, right? Look at all that windfall of several $1 trillion and it's all gone now, right? Into the negative. So the bad news is obvious there. The good news, which is less obvious, right? Because like that looks horrible, is at least we got through it. Like, at least it's done now at this point in time. You can't say, oh, the Rona, savings is around. The Rona stimulus is still around. It's gone now. It's long gone, right? And so, at least now, as the numbers go on over the next few years, right, we're coming off a lot easier comps to comp against because we don't have that to comp against. The problem with 2022 and 2023 numbers, and even in 2024, is there was so much stimulus, there was so much savings that a lot of people had that it was brutal in terms of the comps, because a lot of these companies' numbers got put up to such insane numbers in 2021, right? The growth rates were ridiculous. And then you had the come down. And the come down's tough to go through. And the good news is we're pretty much about through that come down now at this point in time. Now, this is next one that's been kind of going viral out there on different platforms, right? Missing payments. Share of balances that are 90 plus days delinquent, right? Now, if you look at kind of credit card rates, and I'd almost guarantee you, because these are backwards looking numbers, we're even higher right now. Like if we were to see the numbers right now, I bet you we're closer to 11, 12 now at this point in time, which would put us more up toward this range right here, okay? So does that mean the recession's here? Is it still coming? That means the recession's here right now. It's actually we're going through it right now. That's an important thing to understand. You look at when this hit up in these sorts of numbers in the great financial crisis, we're already deep into the recession at that point in time. The recession was really viewed as starting in 07 and then ending in 09, right? And when you look at the sort of delinquencies we were at, this is the end of 08. This is the very end of 08 going into 2009, right? So toward the end of the recession, actually, and that's the sort of numbers we're at this point in time, right? And the numbers got even worse as you went into 2010, and then they started to get better and better. And so right now, we're going through the recession. And you can see it clear as day. If Apple's iPhone revenue is down $6 billion year over year, right, on one quarter, and Starbucks is reporting negative numbers, and Nike's talking about negative revenue, right? You got all these huge famous companies all reporting negative numbers. Like, you're in a recession. Like, there's no going around that, like, and trying to talk your way around that. You're in the recession right now, right? That's what's going on right now. And so these numbers will likely get worse, in my opinion, over the next 3 quarters. And then they'll probably reach max level bad, I would say probably the end of this year or the first half of 2025. And so the important thing to understand about that, market bottoms way before something like delinquencies bottom. That's super important to understand, right? By this, the market bottomed right around here. It bottomed end of 08, very beginning of 2009, right? Meanwhile, delinquencies went up substantially for another year after that. So that's a little other food for thought in regards to that. And we're going through a weird time because obviously GDP doesn't look like it's in a recession, but also we already had a recession technically in 2022. People didn't call it a recession, but we did have 2 straight quarters of negative GDP in 2022, right? And that was during a time of super high inflation, which means that recession was actually insane because you had inflation, at record numbers, right? But look at national debt. Look at U.S. federal spending here. This is a difference, I think, in regards to prior. Why does it not feel like it's some insane recession? It's because the federal government is spending like a drunken sailor right now. Let's call it what it is, right? And so I think that's helping GDP. I mean, if you're going to do all these different infrastructure projects and try to help build bridges and highways back and interstates and all these sorts of projects they got going on right now, right? I mean, that helps construction spending, that helps spending overall, clearly, right? Plus all the other stuff they have going on, right? We know all this. I don't even want to go down the rabbit hole of the spend. So in regards to that, I think that's why it feels different. It's just the spending's out of control by the U.S. government, right? Now, talk Amazon and Meta. Which stock's going to do better over the back half of this year? Now we're officially in the back half of the year, right? Clearly, Meta's done better. We're up 664,000, up 97,000 on Amazon, right? Amazon's done us very well, but here's the deal, okay? So if you want to understand which one's likely to do better, you got to understand kind of what's going on with the business model and also what's going on with kind of the valuation, right? So if I compared here on 1000xstocks.com, Meta, Amazon, Google, but we're really focusing in on Meta and Amazon, right? So if we look, Amazon's clearly at a much higher trailing 12-month P, about double. Forward P, less than double, right? And then 2-year forward P, okay, less than 50% higher. So looking at that right there, if these numbers are at, correct, that we kind of compile what analysts are thinking here in regards to this, Amazon's clearly going to, have their earnings per share grow much more rapidly than Meta, which means it should, in theory, trade at a much higher multiple talking about P ratio, forward P ratio, 2-year out forward P ratio, than something like a Meta, right? Trailing 12-month earnings per share growth, 121% for Meta, 700+% for Amazon. Current year expected earnings per share growth, 53% Amazon, right? 38% for Meta. Next year earnings per share growth, 24% expected for Amazon, 15% for Meta. And that's despite Meta's revenue should increase at a more rapid clip than Amazon, right? So a little food for thought in regards to that. And then if you look at net margin here, net margin for Amazon's on the floor compared to obviously Google and Meta. Now, Amazon should never have net margins as high as Meta and Google. However, they got a lot of room to up that over the future years, right? To maybe 10 to 15%. So if I had to say, who's more likely to increase their net margin 10 percentage points, let's talk about, over the next 5 years? I would say there's a much higher probability of Amazon increasing their net margin to like a 17% number versus Meta going to 43%. So that's kind of my opinion in regards to that. And by the way, Meta could actually increase their net margin as well over the coming years. So when I look at Amazon versus Meta, I think both are very well positioned this back half of the year, but what I will say is Amazon's probably a little better positioned because of the growth rates at Amazon, right? And so I think that's something to kind of factor in here. And also we should be coming out of the goods recession likely next year. I think we've kind of been in a vicious time for the goods recession for the last several years, and I think that will help Amazon as well in 25, 26. I think people are going to kind of look forward there. So, I think it's definitely a possibility that Amazon could outperform Meta, but both should do tremendous, right? So this is the most special tool in regards to 1000xstocks.com is this compare. This is what all our members so far absolutely love, this ability to compare stocks, mandatory metrics. We had a ton of advanced metrics to compare these different stocks to, right? We now have earnings calls on here as well as earnings calls transcripts. We now have SEC filings. So let's say you want to look at Amazon's latest SEC filings, type in, AMZN, boom, SEC filings pop up. We have metrics on there, and right now we're also working in the background to hopefully add past financial statements of companies, plus the ability to do projections for companies and alter different growth rates and kind of what you're expecting and what that means for these companies, stock prices, market caps, all those sorts of things. So 1000x stocks, once again, that's 2 days away, that sale. Pin comment down there. Click on that, enter in your name, your email. We'll send over the deal as soon as it drops on July 4th. And once you join us in there, we'll send to your house the Steel Founding Membership Card because this is the founding year for 2024. Much love and have a great day.